Okay, it's that time. You finally got your hands on one of those elusive gaming consoles. It wasn't easy though. You tried every retail store and you just happened to get it on the one day that they actually had it. And because it's that time, it's finally time for you to unbox the Xbox Series X, something you've been waiting to do for literally a couple of years now. The anticipation is killing you, and it's finally time to get off all of those pesky seals. They don't come off easy though, as apparently they use like super glue on these or something. There's two more on the bottom, and after those are done, it's finally time. You pick it up and it's actually got a little bit of weight to it. This thing is definitely a lot more dense than you were thinking. It has this waxy kind of paper on it, so you know it didn't get any scratches. You know that there's accessories in the box too to look at, but you don't really care, you just want to get straight to the good stuff. You're also glad that on this console you can use all of your old accessories from the Xbox One, so you're glad you don't have to get a new headset again. Okay, now that you've got it out and everything, it's time to get that power cable so you can turn it on. Going into the little accessory box, you find an HDMI cable, which is actually pretty long, and it says that it's ultra high speed, so you know that it can do 4K at 120 Hz. You move on to the controller, which has its own packaging, properly designated with a little controller logo, and has the same material as the black paper that was on the Series X. You know that the controller is supposed to be a little bit different this time around, so you take a look at it, and on first glance it kind of looks similar to the old Xbox One controller, but it also does feel pretty nice. It comes with a couple of batteries, but you're thinking about using your battery pack anyway, so you just kind of leave them with the rest of it. And here it is, the power cable. That way you can get it up and running. There's also a little booklet you take a brief look at, but nothing too fancy. You take a quick look at the get started guide that tells you all about the ports and the things that you need to get started, so you head to the Xbox app. You do notice that there's a secondary green color in the grill of the Xbox where the exhaust is. It looks kind of cool because off angle you can see that it's green. From further away, you see that it's a little bit more subtle and kind of has a look to it to where you need to take a second glance to see if it was actually green. Now that the console is on, you know that you're one step closer to playing all of those games you've been waiting to try out. In the back of your mind, you are wondering just how long that initial console update is going to take. You also know that this thing is almost a foot tall, a half foot deep, and a half foot wide. So you're wondering just where you're going to put this thing, because as of right now, it's kind of taking up a lot of room on your desk. Well, you've been waiting on this long enough, so you decide it's time to take a look at the controller. On the Series X controller, you know that there's a share button which lets you take screenshots and game recordings right from the gamepad. The buttons on the side over here are still colored, and the sticks still have that texture that's really nice to grip onto. The top of the controller is pretty flat and the design is pretty simple. You actually liked your Xbox One controller a decent bit, so you decide to look and see what all of the real differences are between the two. On your first glance, you really don't see that many differences, so you check on the update and yeah, that's going to be a while. Moving back to the controller, you see that the D-pad is a little bit different on the new controller versus the old one. You try it out and you see that it's actually a decent bit more clicky than the old one. You're not sure how, but you did lose the cover for your old controller, but the new one is USB-C, so you're going to be using a different charger anyway. You like the grippy texture on the triggers, back of the controller, and the bumpers. This is different than the old controller, which was all glossy and could be hard to hold onto. You're excited to use the new one, but you'll still keep the old one as a backup. Now that the update is all done, it's finally time to get started. You power on your controller and you're ready to start gaming. Although you do know that the Xbox doesn't really come with any games on it, so you're going to sign into your account and start downloading all of your favorite games that you've been waiting to play in 4K and potentially at 120 frames per second. So once you get done with all the setup stuff, you're pretty much ready to go. And the only thing that's coming between you and your favorite games is pairing up your old headset and downloading them, of course. But now you have free reign over your Xbox, and it's time for you to do whatever it is that you've been waiting to do. After all, these are still somewhat difficult to find in a lot of regions, so you consider yourself pretty lucky and you're hoping that your friends are able to get their hands on one too.